much noise as you wish to. We'll start in a seated position, so come and find Sukhasana, easy pose, cross-legged pose on your mat to begin. And do take support underneath the sit bones should you need to here. So if you feel you need, you can just take a couple of pillows or something underneath the sitting bones to allow the knees to descend lower than the hips. Come to check in with your posture here. So make sure that you're level through the pelvis, tailbone tethers towards the ground. And although you're grounded through the hips, notice that sense of uplift as the chest extracts away from the hip points. The crown of the head lifts towards the ceiling. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, so notice if you're bunching them up at all, really try to let those go. Imagine there's tiny weights on the elbows that are drawing the arms down. And then you can choose to have the hands facing down to feel a little bit more grounded, or maybe you bring your palms up towards the ceiling, feeling that openness into the chest, outward rotation into the shoulders. You can find your chin mudra if you like, your gesture of consciousness. So the thumb and the index finger come together. Feel this openness across the front of the body, that spread between the collarbones, and the shoulder blades gently nestled together. Choosing to close down the eyes or soften the gaze, taking away any visual disturbance. And just bringing all of that energy, that awareness into the body. So notice this morning how you're feeling on a physical level. And using your breath here, so find that connection to the breath, your prana. Inhaling, bring new energy into the body and really sending that breath all the way down to the basis of the lungs. So as you inhale, the diaphragm contracts and the belly rises. As you exhale, the tummy softens, the breath comes back to the chest. Breathing out through the mouth, or maybe breathing out through the nose. So if you wish to, introducing that yogic breath, you'll inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. So envision that pathway of breath through the body. And if you feel you really need to bring more energy into your practice, if you're feeling tired or fatigued today, then find that strong inhalation. And as you inhale, there's that sense of uplift, so opening into the chest, lifting through the crown. As you exhale, it's a calming and grounding breath, the exhalation. So you can notice the shoulders relaxing, feel that heaviness through the hips here onto the mat. Let's just take a couple more rounds of breath in your own time. Smooth inhalation, long exhalation. Staying mindful of the breath and just taking that awareness away from the outside world, disconnecting from the external world. Maybe floating through that last breath now. And as you feel ready, you can start to flicker open the eyes, bring your awareness back into your space. Now on your next inhale, let's float the arms out to the side and all the way up overhead. So feel that really long strength through the side body opening into the shoulders. As much as you can, keep your arms towards your ears here. Soften the ribcage down and draw in the tummy muscles slightly. Now on an exhale, bend the elbows and cactus the arms so the shoulder blades draw together. And again, there's that spread across the collarbones here, creating that space into our heart center. And you can really stretch and open into the hands. Inhale, take the arms straight overhead again. Feel that tremendous stretch and opening through the side of the body into the shoulders, the underarms. Exhale, bend the elbows, cactus the arms. Tuck those shoulder blades together very gently. Inhale to lift the arms again. Now this time exhale to take the arms out to the side and then loop the right arm under the left as you come into your eagle arms. So right under the left, ideally you're trying to bring your right hand onto the inside of the left wrist. If that's not available to you, then you can have the hands parted or simply just take hold of opposite shoulder and give yourself a really nice hug in here. But notice that in doing so, there's that spread across the back body this time. So there's that opening as the shoulder blades draw apart. Now, as you inhale wherever you are with this, see about lifting the elbows a little bit higher so they come in line with the shoulders. And then as you exhale, take a gentle forward fold, allowing the head to release forwards, allowing the arms to release forwards. And again, just feeling that openness across the back of the body. Okay, on your next inhale, release the arms. Again, take them all the way up and overhead. Maybe bringing palms together, feeling that opening into the side of the body, the shoulders. Exhale, arms out to the side. This time, loop that left arm under the right. So finding Garudasana eagle arms on the other side. So ideally, the left hand sits on the right wrist. If that's not available, then we part the hands or we just take hold of the opposite shoulder. Now again, on an inhale, see if you can lift the elbows a little bit higher. So feeling that tremendous stretch between the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, you can forward fold. So release those arms down, relax the shoulders, let that head hang heavy. Taking a moment here to breathe, inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. Last inhale here then, last time, let's take those arms all the way overhead again, stretching towards the ceiling. This time keep the hands parted and just see how high you can stretch them up above you. So really feeling that strong length here, stretching into the fingers, but still rooting through the sitting bones. Exhale, release the hands. And then just make your way into a tabletop position, 4-point kneeling, taking your time to make your way there. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, spread and open into the fingertips here. Just welcome in a few rounds of cat-cow in your own time. So we're just waking up the spine this morning, inhaling as we lift, exhaling as we lower. Try to lead that movement with the tailbone, so inhaling, lifting the tailbone. Feel that wave through the body, the gaze peers up. As you exhale, we tuck the tailbone under, open between the shoulders and send the gaze below. So welcoming in that spinal mobility and linking the movement with the breath here. And just noticing how the spine wants to flow. So if there's any areas of tension that you maybe want to stretch out a little bit further, you can really exaggerate the movement. Or you can also add in some more intuitive movement, so maybe wiggling the hips side to side, maybe spiraling the hips around in one direction and then out to the other side, maybe even taking some little circles over the wrists here with the upper body. So if there's any other movement you want to welcome in, then go ahead and do so. Just finding that free movement this morning. And maybe just come to take one last full cycle of breath wherever you are. So that full inhale, that long exhale. Before finding stillness in your tabletop, just check in with the alignment here. So again, hands directly under the shoulders. And I do encourage you to lengthen into the fingertips, press those hands, those really open into the palms as much as you can. Tuck the tailbone under slightly, so notice if you're lifting the tailbone, if you're extending into the lower spine, try to flatten the back out by slightly drawing in the tummy muscles and tucking that tailbone. Now let's just tuck the toes under as well, feeling that stretch into the bases of the feet. On an inhale, lift and hover the knees a couple of inches away from the ground. So just starting to ignite some strength into the core, tummy muscles are working hard. Notice that strength into the arms, the shoulders, into the wrists. The gaze is down here, so really neutral into the neck. On your next inhale, let's lift the hips high as we find our first downward facing dog. Just take your time in down dog. So again, welcoming in that intuitive movement, your free movement. Notice how the body feels. And just honouring that by drawing in any movement that you feel you need this morning, maybe bending a knee, lifting a heel, wiggling out the head, the hips, giving everything a bit of a shake from side to side. And just take your time here to release into the body. Keep moving with the breath, so using that reciprocal breath. And make your way into stillness whenever you feel ready to, but just taking your time to get there this morning. Make sure the hips are the highest point of the pose. Hands a little bit wider than the shoulders, feet to hip distance. Again, really spread into the hands here. It will just give you that strong grounding and rooting onto the mat. And if it feels tight into the backs of the legs, or if you feel you're crunching into the lower spine, then just soften the knees, and you don't have to get those heels down towards the mat. So you can really bend the knees here to find that elongation, that extension into the back. Now, as you inhale, walk the hands back towards the feet at the back of the mat. Exhale to find your forward fold. So those arms hang heavy, the head hangs heavy, bending into the knees as much as you need. Welcoming some movement here. So again, that intuitive movement. If you want to rock from side to side, it might feel nice to bring the hands behind the head, interlacing the fingers to really iron out any tension into the back of the neck. Just check that you're even through the feet here, so weight onto the heels, the forefoot, the toes, the feet really rooting down strongly onto the mat. And it's easy to to notice that tension into the back of the legs here, to stay involved with that. But come to notice that release into the lower spine as well. So how does that feel into the lower back? And then just coming back through center, allowing those arms to hang. So on your next inhale, firm up through the legs. Bring the hands to the shins if you find your halfway lift, tucking the shoulders back. Exhale, release into a fold, taking hold of the ground or the ankles and sending the gaze behind. Now this time on an inhale, sweep the arms out to the side and all the way overhead, maybe sealing palms together, finding a gentle back bend. Exhale, take the arms out to the side, loop the right arm under the left. Let's come to find that eagle bind again. So right arm under the left, right hand rests onto the inside of the left wrist ideally, or otherwise taking hold of opposite shoulders. Now on an inhale, let's see about lifting those elbows a little bit higher. So noticing that opening across the back into the thoracic spine. And then as you exhale, bend the knees, allow the upper body to hang as you come all the way into your fold, but still maintaining that eagle bind. And if you wish to, just introduce that free movement again, maybe rocking from side to side, releasing into the back, releasing into the shoulders. And then just allow those arms to hang heavy again, ragdolling the arms. Now on your next inhale, straighten through the knees, firm up the legs, come into your halfway lift. So again, look forwards, tuck the shoulders back. Exhale, release all the way down into your forward fold. Inhale, sweep those arms out to the side and all the way up overhead. Again, find a gentle back bend should you wish. Exhale, arms out to the side. This time, loop that left arm under the right and just coming to find Garudasana arms, eagle arms on the other side. So again, from here, as you inhale, lift the elbows a little bit higher, either remaining in eagle or taking hold of the opposite shoulder. Either way, we're just noticing that parting between the shoulder blades. And then on your next exhale, bend the knees, relax the upper body, allow yourself to completely hang into that forward fold. And again, just taking a gentle rock from side to side should you need to. And then just release the arms so they're hanging heavy. Inhaling here, let's walk forwards into a high plank position. Just steady through the hips, so make sure you're not wiggling or swaying those hips too much from side to side. And finding that position where the hands are directly under the shoulders, the gaze is down, there's length into the back of the body. Now on your next exhale, let's all release the knees to the mat. Draw the elbows into the waist, lower through chest and chin, finding that micro back extension. Softly come all the way down to the ground, so relaxing onto the tummy, hands either side of the chest. Press into the tops of the feet, so firm up through the legs. Inhale, loop the shoulders back, lift the chest, find your cobra, elbows into the waist. Exhale, release down. Let's take that 2 more times. So inhale, soft through the hands, really using that back strength to lift you. The gaze is forwards, we're opening into the heart space. Exhale to release. 1 more time. Inhaling, we lift shoulders away from the ears, elbows into the side. Exhale to tuck the toes, make your way back into downward facing dog. So again, just finding your strength in that downward facing dog, noticing the alignment. Gaze is behind, anywhere between the navel and the knees. Trying to descend the chest between the arms as much as you can. Tuck in the tummy muscle slightly, so finding some strength into the core to support the lower spine. And just taking a moment here to breathe, so don't forget the breath, inhaling deeply, exhaling fully, either out through the mouth or out through the nose. On your next inhale, look forwards. Start to tiptoe the feet towards the hands. Keep the hips as lifted as you possibly can. So you might even come into fingertips here as you walk those feet all the way up towards the hands. And then exhale to release the head down, release the arms, release the heels down as you find a forward fold now at the top of the mat. So just again in your forward fold, take any movement here that you wish to. If you want to hold on to opposite elbow, onto the back of the head, then do so. It might even feel quite nice here to bring the hands behind the backs of the legs, bending elbows, taking hold of opposite elbow. So the arms almost rest into the knee creases, the back of the knee creases. And then from here, you can just allow that chest to really rest towards the legs as you bend into the knees generously, rounding through the upper spine, almost like finding the shell shape to relax into the back. Wherever you are, taking a moment here, so keeping with the breath. And then releasing those arms so they're hanging heavy. Now on the next inhale again, see about firming up through the legs to bring to the hands to the shins, halfway lift, tuck the shoulders back, lift the chest. Exhale, come all the way down into that forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side and all the way overhead, finding a back bend should you wish. Exhale, arms out to the side. Again, loop that right arm under the left, coming to find your eagle bind. So right arm under the left, right hand on the inside of the wrist, or just coming to hug onto the shoulders. Now shuffle your feet together so the toes meet. The heels are slightly parted, so just narrowing off the studs slightly. Now options then, on an inhale, we're just going to see if we can bend the knees, send the hips back and sit down into kind of like a chair position. So finding Uttanasana legs coming into this chair type shape. So you can either choose to stay here, or for anyone that wants to this morning, you can have a practice with your full Garudasana Eagle. So if you wish to, the right foot stays planted, so the right leg is grounded. We lift the left leg so it crosses over the right. And then from here, you might even see if you can tuck your left foot just behind that right calf. That might not be for you, in which case stay in your chair, you can just be holding on to opposite shoulders. But if it is for you, then weight is through the right. We're stepping and crossing that left leg over the right here, seeing how far you can go. As you inhale, you might lift the elbows a little bit higher. As you exhale, you might sink down a little bit deeper into that full eagle pose. Take one last inhale here. Exhale to release the arms, release the legs, give everything a really good shuffle about. And then we'll just come straight into that on the opposite side then. So just on an inhale, take the arms overhead. Exhale, bring the arms out to the side. Left arm loops under the right this time. Coming to find your eagle bind or taking hold of opposite shoulder, whatever feels good for you today. On an inhale, bend the knees and send the hips back. Weight through the heels as you find those chair legs. Making sure the feet are together here, the toes come to meet. Now options to stay here. Or if you wish to, you can step that right foot over the left, so coming to cross the legs right over the left this time. And then you might see if you can hook your right foot behind the left calf. So just see how far you can go with this. And don't feel pressured here today, so no judgment, whatever feels good for you. Inhaling, maybe lifting elbows a little bit higher. Exhaling, seeing if you can sink a little bit deeper into that pose. One last breath, deep inhale, long exhale. Release the arms, release the legs, just give everything a little bit of a move around for a moment. Just releasing any tension there, wonderful. So we're going to come through some nice flow now, nothing too complicated, but just starting to release into the body a little bit more. Make your way to the top of your mat. And just set yourself up nicely into your Tadasana, mountain pose, making sure you've got that even weight through the feet, Firming up into the legs, tucking tailbone under, strong into the core, the glutes, shoulders back and down, so feeling that openness, that spread across the collarbones. And just tucking those shoulders away from the ears. Spread and open into the hands here, and really do send that energy all the way to the fingertips. Take an inhale here. Exhale, float the hands to heart center, finding prayer Namaskarasana. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Again, if you wish to take a gentle back bend, do so, shining the heart space up. Exhale to forward fold from the waist. Take hold of the ground or the ankles. The gaze is behind. On an inhale, bring the hands to the shins. Halfway lift, look forwards, tuck the shoulders back. Exhale, release the hands to the ground. Keep the left foot where it is. Step your right leg back, finding a long runner's lunge here. So the left knee is bent in line with the ankle. Come onto the fingertips. And then see about tucking the shoulders back and lifting the chest forward. So you're sort of finding this active lift of the chest away from the knee. Really press into the undersurface of the back toes, into the forefoot. Find your strength and stability. Whenever you feel ready to on an inhale, let's say about floating the arms up overhead and then exhaling to sink the hips down into a high lunge position. So just finding your strength here, a little bit of engagement into the core as the tummy tucks in slightly. We're even through the pelvis and we're stretching up high into the arms, into the fingertips, finding that stretch, that release into the side body, into the shoulders, energy all the way to the hands. Now take an inhale here. As you exhale, bend the elbows and cactus the arms just as we did at the very beginning. So tuck the shoulders back, feel that openness into the chest. Now as you inhale, take those arms straight back overhead. This time as you exhale, take the arms wide to the side, bring the hands behind the back this time, interlacing the fingers so the palms come to meet. Now if you need to at any point, do release your right knee down, but if you can, stay lifted. Now inhale to really draw those arms back behind, again to feel that openness into the front of the chest, into your heart center. As you exhale, let's dive forwards into humble warrior. So the arms draw overhead and we're just trying to move your chest onto the inside of the left leg. So we're not hanging out into the left knee, we're diving that chest onto the inside of the left leg. The gaze is down, the arms are still lifted. Take an inhale here. And then just exhale to release the hands to mirror the front foot, coming back into your long runner's lunge. Really good. Lastly here on an exhale, see about walking the hands up and straightening through your lead leg. So you're coming into a pyramid type pose, just releasing any tension that's built into the back of that left leg here. The gaze is down and we're not going to completely collapse in this posture. Let's keep an active lift of the chest still. So tuck the shoulders back slightly and notice that crown is sort of moving forwards to find that elongated position of the back. Okay, so just taking one more breath here. Inhaling deeply. Exhale, walk those hands forwards, ground the palms down, and then just step back into your plank position. So coming into that high plank pose. Exhaling, either releasing knees, lowering through chest and chin, or just drawing elbows into the waist to lower to the mat. Untuck the toes. Inhale, let's loop the shoulders back, lifting into our cobra. Gaze is forwards. Exhaling, tucking the toes, we find downward facing dog. Take your time with these transitions so there's no rush at all. And a reminder, you can always come straight back to down dog or rest in child's pose if you need. It's your practice. It doesn't always have to be challenging. Just honor whatever you feel you need today. Okay, so find that strength and alignment in your downward facing dog here. Make sure you're really releasing the head. So notice if you're still holding some tension into the head and the neck, just allow that to go. Allow that to completely relax. On your next inhale, bend the knees generously and send the gaze forwards. Exhale to step your right foot forwards this time, so it comes on the inside of the right hand. Shuffle it there should you need to. And just come to find your strong runner's lunge to begin with. So onto the fingertips, right knee in line with the ankle. Tuck the shoulders back, lift the chest, the gaze is forwards, finding some strength and stability here. As you feel ready to, on an inhale, you can see about taking the arms overhead. Exhaling, sinking the hips down into your high crescent lunge. Do release your left knee down at any point that you need to. If this feels a little bit too much this morning, that's totally fine. But if it feels okay to do so, taking a moment here to really stretch into the fingertips up towards the ceiling, draw in the tummy muscles, soften the ribcage, level out through the pelvis. On an exhale breath, let's find those cactus arms. So bending the elbows, drawing the shoulders back, opening into the heart space. Again, really spreading into the hands. Inhale, take those arms straight overhead. And then exhale to bring the hands behind the back, this time interlacing the fingers. Straighten into the elbows, and then as you inhale, really open into the chest, into the heart space. Exhale to dive that chest forward. So again, humble warrior. Coming on the inside of the right knee as much as you can, so we're not just hanging out or collapsing into the right leg, but really notice that strength into the front leg here, the hamstrings working really hard. All those intrinsic muscles of the foot are working really hard. And then on an exhale breath, just release the hands down to mirror that front foot. So this time, let's walk the hands back, start to straighten into that right leg. So releasing into the hamstring, feeling that length all the way down the back of the leg. If this feels too strong, then do have a micro bend into the knee. And try to keep that active extension and lift of the chest here. Tucking the shoulders back. Keep that gaze towards the big toe. So finding almost a pyramid type shape. Just taking one more breath here. So inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. And then just starting to walk those hands all the way forwards again into this lunge. Now this time, let's step the left foot up to the right. So we're going to land in a forward fold at the front of the mat now. Let the head hang heavy, let those arms release for just a moment, releasing into the lower spine. And then on an inhale breath, straighten through the legs, bring the hands to the shins, halfway lift, look forwards, tuck the shoulders back. Exhale, relax all the way down into your forward fold. Now this time on an inhale, we're going to find chair pose. So bend the knees, send the hips back, and see about sweeping those arms up towards the ceiling into your chair, Uttanasana, weight through the heels. Just make sure that if the knees are parted, then they're not collapsing inwards, they're not drawing outwards. So finding that really good alignment of the knees pointing forwards. Make sure you're not overarching, hyperextending into the lower spine. So just elongating through the back, again, drawing in the tummy muscles slightly. Inhale deeply here, and then exhale to release the hands down into a forward fold. Inhale, hands to the shins, halfway lift, look forwards. Exhale, release those arms all the way down to the ground. Keep the right foot where it is. Step your left leg back this time. Just come to find your runner's lunge again. So you might come onto the fingertips here. Make sure right knee is in line with the ankle. Tuck the shoulders back, lift the chest forward. So find that active lift of the upper body away from the knee. And then from here, ground your left hand down. On an inhale, sweep the right arm up towards the ceiling, coming into a lunge twist. Really stretch into the fingertips, allow the gaze to follow. As you exhale, release your right hand now on the inside of the right foot. And then see if you can sweep that left arm up towards the ceiling as you inhale. So challenging that balance, that stability a little bit more. Exhale, release the left hand down. Now this time, see if you can heel toe your right foot out towards the long edge of the mat. So setting up for a lizard posture here. So finding that widened stance. The right foot can even come off the mat if you wish to. So finding that wide lizard lunge. And from here, if you wish to, you can release your left knee down on towards the ground. So we're simply just trying to open and release into the inside of that right hip. Just taking a moment here in your lizard. So again, options to play around with this pose if you wish to. If it's available to you, you can bring forearms towards the ground, or maybe even stepping your right hand just under the right leg so it comes to the outside of the right foot, and really using that to open into the right hip here. Wherever you are with this, keep the gaze below though. So we're still trying to find that neutral position into the back of the neck. Feel that release into the back leg. So again, options to have the knee down, or if you want to find more length and strength into the back leg, then lifting that knee away from the ground, using the glutes here, finding that strength into the glutes. So just one more breath into this lizard pose. And if you are in your forearms or taking any other variation of this, just come to start to lift through the hands again to extend into the elbows, come back to where we started. Perfect. Now from our lizard, we're going to see about transitioning into a pigeon type shape. So just see from here, if you can draw your right foot across the body, so the right knee just lands in line with the right wrist and the right shin is at a diagonal across the body. Take your time to get there, and then slowly you can release that left leg back behind you, so coming into that long pigeon type shape. Now, if you need to take support here, then do so underneath that right hip. Sometimes that can feel quite nice to level up through the pelvis. If this really feels too much to be here, then sit into the right hip and just draw that left leg up towards you, bending into the knee. Now, just for a moment, try to stay upright in your pigeon. So starting with our king pigeon pose, tucking shoulders away from the ears, the gaze is forward, and we're really using our back strength to keep us lifted. Now, if anyone wants to play around with it, you might also see if you can bring your hands to heart center. So really using that spinal strength to keep you lifted here, finding that balance and stability through the pelvis. Good. Take one last inhale here, and then exhale to just let yourself fold all the way down into that full long pigeon pose onto the mat. And you can rest your head onto the hands, you can rest the forehead down towards the ground. If anyone wants to add in a twist and bind here, you can do by having the right arm out long in front, left arm loops under the right, the gaze is over to the right side. So threading the needle, if you want to, you can lift right arm up towards the ceiling. You can even bring the right hand behind the back, or maybe see if you can take hold of the toes as they peer through the left side, but that is optional. So just see how you go with this. Just taking a couple more breaths there in that pigeon, releasing into the hip, into the glutes. And with your exhale breath, just allowing yourself to soften and calm down. So really grounding towards the mat. Okay, so just taking your last breath here. Whenever you're ready to release whatever position you're in, just coming to lift through the hands, straighten into the elbows. So last little bit here, if you want to have a rest, then just come to sit onto the right hip. But if you want to play around with it, you can always see if you can bend your left knee behind you so the toes come up to the ceiling, setting up for a mermaid pose. Ideally, you want to stay balanced through the pelvis here, but if you do need to, you can sit onto the right hip here to allow you to bend that back leg up. And maybe you can take your left hand onto the inside of the left ankle to stretch through the back leg. If that's not for you, we won't be here for long, so you don't have to come into this position, your mermaid. We're just going to hold for one breath. If you want to take it there, you can do. Inhaling, exhaling, wonderful. Whenever you're ready to relax your back leg down, we're all going to meet into a downward facing dog. So tuck the toes under on the left foot and just see if you can lift that right leg back into your downward facing dog. And you might find it's helpful here to just wiggle out those legs, pedaling out the legs, shaking off the hips in this pose if it feels particularly tight onto that side that we've just worked. Okay. So options to stay in down dog for just a few breaths, or if anyone does want to take a vinyasa here, you can do by inhaling to move into your plank pose, exhaling to lower through chaturanga or knees, chest, chin, inhaling, maybe coming into up dog now if you wish to, extending the elbows, lifting the hips and rolling shoulders away from the ears, exhaling, downward facing dog. Okay, so last little bit here, we're just going to take that flow on the other side. So again, inhale to bend the knees generously and send the gaze forwards. Exhale, see about stepping a left foot now on the inside of the left hand. Take it as far as you can, shuffle it there if you need to. Now just find your runner's lunge to begin with then. So coming onto the fingertips, sending the shoulders back, lifting the chest. Really feel that nice long length through the back leg, releasing into the front of the hip here on that right side, finding that active lift of the chest. Now ground your right hand down onto the mat. Inhale, sweep a left arm up to the ceiling, finding your lunge twist. The gaze follows the hand. Exhale, release left hand on the inside of the left foot. And now see if you can inhale to lift the right arm up and away. So finding that lunge twist on the other side. Wonderful. Exhale, release, right hand down. And then start to shuffle that left foot out this time. So heel toeing the foot just as far as the long edge of the mat, or a little bit further if you want to, but just coming to find that strong lizard pose. So opening into the inside of the left leg. You can release the right knee down. If you wish to, you can untuck the toes. Just finding your variation of that lizard posture on this side. Notice how that feels into the hips. And from here, if you want to play around with that, you can see about lowering the forearms, maybe taking left hand onto the outside of the left foot to really open into the hip here. If you want to keep the knee lifted, then do so, finding that strong release into the front of the right hip. Gaze is down, length through the back of the neck, and just taking a moment to breathe into this posture. Wonderful, really nice. So wherever you are with this, take one last full inhale, one last exhale. In your own time, as you feel ready, start to straighten through the elbows, press into the hands, coming back to where we started. And then just seeing if we can take that transition to our pigeon pose. So sweeping the left foot across the body, the left knee comes down behind the left wrist. Finding that diagonal of the chin moving across. And then releasing that back leg down and away. Come into your king pigeon to begin with, so lifting the chest, maybe coming onto the fingertips. If it feels available, you can bring those hands to heart center into your prayer, really using that spinal strength to keep you lifted. Nice. Inhaling deeply, exhaling, folding forwards all the way into your long pigeon. Relaxing the head, relaxing the arms, finding that forward fold, bowing the chest forwards. If anyone does want to take a twist here, it's just a reminder the left arm is in front, the right arm sweeps underneath the left, so the gaze is over to the left side, finding that thread the needle, and you can play around with left arm moving towards the ceiling, or maybe the left arm comes behind, so the hand takes hold of the big toes as they peer out through the right side. That is optional. You don't have to go there, but you can if you wish to. You might just prefer to rest that forehead down, taking a couple of nourishing breaths, feeling that release into the left hip. Take one last round of breath, full inhale, long exhale wherever you are. Start to gently release yourself from the posture, pressing through the hands, extending, lifting through the elbows. And then if you want to play around with it, you can maybe see about bending that back leg, right knee, right foot comes up towards the ceiling. Maybe you take hold of the inside of that right foot with the right hand if you wish to, coming into your mermaid pose. You can sit onto that left hip if you feel you need to. Take one last breath, inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. Relax that back leg down, tuck the toes, make your way back into that downward facing dog. Okay, so again, option to just stay in this downward facing dog for a couple of breaths, or if anyone wants to take a vinyasa here, then again we can inhale as we move forwards through our plank position, high plank, exhaling to move through chaturanga, inhaling into up dog or cobra, your choice of back bend. Just take your time here with these transitions, and then exhaling into that downward facing. Just come to hold in downward facing now for a couple of breaths, so find stillness in this pose. Strengthening into the arms, the hands, the shoulders. Hips are lifted high, releasing into that lower spine. Okay. Inhale to look forwards, and then exhale to simply release the knees, toes come together, find a long child's pose onto the mat. Starting to really calm our practice here today then. Inhaling, feel that breath moving into the back body, the back of the rib cage. Exhaling, softening and sinking down towards the mat. Just take one last breath here. Deep inhale, long exhale. Inhale to look forwards. exhale, just come into a seated position at the top of the mat. Have the knees bent, soles of the feet resting flat, hip distance apart. And then just find yourself sat really tall here. We're going to take the arms in line with the shoulders, really stretching into the fingertips. Feel that lift of the crown of the head up towards the ceiling, that extraction of the chest away from the hip points, so you're in your very best seated posture. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, start to round into the back and then slowly unravel yourself down to the mat, but using your spinal strength. So one vertebrae at a time, really strong into the tummy muscles, releasing as slow as you possibly can here until you come all the way down into a lying position. It might feel nice to stretch the arms overhead, stretch the legs away, finding that full spinal stretch. Now relax the arms down by your side, bend the knees, feet resting flat. Last tiny little bit, let's just take a few rounds of bridge here. So walk the heels in towards you, so you'd almost tickle the backs of the heels with the fingertips, feet at hip distance. Just checking the knees are pointed forwards here so they're not collapsing inwards or outwards. On an inhale, tuck the tailbone under. Let's just lift the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, coming into your high bridge position. Resting on the shoulders at the end of the movement, exhaling, releasing the upper spine, the middle back, the lower back, all the way down towards the mat. So just taking that in your own time, really feeling this wave of energy as you lift that lower back, middle back, upper back, that segmental control. And then releasing the upper back, middle back, lower back down, all the way to the ground. If you wish to add in some arm movement here, do so, inhaling to lift the hips. Exhaling to release the hips down, release the arms down by your side. So just finding that in your own time, inhaling to lift. Exhaling to release, staying mindful of the breath. Let's just go for 2 more in your own time. On your last one, keep the hips lifted high. And then see about bringing the arms behind the back here, interlace the fingers just as we did in our humble warrior, straighten through the elbows. And now see about stretching the shoulders down so the arms are onto the ground. We're finding this release into the neck muscles and also a gentle back extension here as the hips lift high towards the ceiling, press into the heels. Notice some engagement into the cores. We're opening core, we're opening into the heart space as well. So feeling that spread across the collarbones for 1 more breath. Inhale deeply, exhale, release all the way down, release the hands. And then just come to hug knees in towards the chest. Take a rock from side to side here. Maybe take some gentle rotation into the lower spine. Find that nourishing release into the back. Massaging lower back down into the mat. And then just come to take any last movement you wish to here this morning. So if there's anything else that you're really calling out for, if you want to finish with a twist or stretch the arms overhead, lengthen legs away, you might want to find a happy baby. Whatever feels good for you. Again, just tuning into the body, honoring that, finding that intuitive movement. Just coming to find any last posture that really suits you today. And there's no rush at all, but when you feel ready to, we're going to come into our final relaxation, Shavasana. So do make your way there whenever you want to. Finding any shape onto the mat, so you can find your traditional Shavasana if you wish, which is with the legs out long, a little bit wider than the hips, hands by the side, the palms facing up. Or if you prefer to bend the knees, allow the knees to float out to the side, maybe bringing hands onto the tummy, then all options are available. Just make sure you're really comfortable in this position, finding that position of maximum relaxation. So wherever you feel, you can completely relax and surrender onto your mat. Close down the eyes, soften the gaze. Disconnect from the extrinsic world. Bring that attention inwards. Just finding your natural spontaneous breath here, so not forcing the breath at all. And just feeling this melting and sinking of the body onto the mat. Keeping that awareness on the body and on the breath. And then just coming to take a few moments of silence and stillness here in your own time. Take 2 more gentle rounds of breath in your Shavasana. And then come to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes when you feel ready to, bringing a little bit of energy back into the body. If they're not there already, let's bend the knees, have the feet resting flat onto the mat. And just take a roll over onto one side, whichever way is cooling you, pausing for a moment there. Before slowly peeling yourself up into a seated position, but just taking your time here, so no rush at all. Coming to find Sukhasana, cross-legged pose onto the mat. Bring your hands to heart center, meeting with our prayer. Inhaling deeply, exhaling, let any last tension go. A gentle nod of the chin towards the chest, showing gratitude for your practice. The light in me honors the light that shines in you. Bowing forwards, namaste. Thank you for joining.